Good Sunday, February 14, 2021. Valentine's Day! On this day, whether you celebrate or not, whether you have love or not, I want you to be my Valentine. I want you to know that you are loved and people care about you. You are not alone, nor should you be. Make sure to connect with a friend, a loved one. Perhaps reach out to someone you lost touch, or it's been a while. And most importantly, get in touch with yourself. How are you feeling? How's your mindset? Are you happy or sad? Do you have dreams and goals for your future? How have you fared since the coronavirus pandemic swept our planet, bringing us to a standstill? As you put 2020's health and planetary crisis into the rear-view mirror, what new paths are you forging? What did you learn from the COVID-19 pandemic? These are trying times. We've been isolated in our homes, had to learn new ways to learn, work, and live online, been disconnected from friends and loved ones. Perhaps you lost your job. You're facing, eviction, or you've lost a loved one, or more, due to illness. Well, I'm sorry about all that. But I want to congratulate you because you survived 2020. You're here. You're alive. You woke up this morning to live another day. Let's make this day and every day your best day ever. Now, how you begin each day sets the tone for the rest of your day. I've learned a few things I'd love to share with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you've learned from this past year's traumatic experience, which our precious planet has endured. As we celebrate the Lunar New Year this week, renew wishes for a healthy and prosperous new year. Here in the United States, as in Asia and other continents who observe their own calendars, whether on the Gregorian or lunar in Eastern cultures, seasonal changes affect you. Certain events like COVID-19, loss of a loved one, or a job, displacement, and personal health issues are a lot to deal with. Compound that with other events from your past, perhaps as far back from childhood or as recent as a breakup last week, affect your mental and physical health. That's why on today's Heart and Home podcast, I want to share with you advice and resources you could add to your toolbox to ease your load. I might not understand what you're going through, nor does anyone else who's not in your shoes. Only you know that. Only you can check in on yourself. So why am I talking about you and not others on this Valentine's Day? Because your relationship with yourself is the most important than any other relationship you have. You see, you're not going anywhere. You're not leaving you. You're there when you wake up in the morning and when you go to bed at night. You're your best friend. So be kind and gentle to yourself. Now, before I share the advice and wisdom from the 93-year-old psychiatrist who I told you about, I want to share a few things I learned from another centenarian. She's my gal pal, Louise Hay, that I've talked about in previous Heart and Home podcasts. Now, J-Lo had mentioned that Louise helped her after her umpteenth marriage failed. And as a follower of Hay House Publishing, Louise's life work lives on. Recently, Hay House launched a new app that gives you unlimited access to all their audio that include meditations, ebooks, conferences. You can take Louise, Wayne Dyer, David G., and many others with you wherever you go. You can begin and end your day with mindfulness and meditating and learning self-care. I learned from Louise other important practices to begin your day. I knew about these for more than 30 years, but I didn't incorporate them into my daily routine until after immersing myself in a bonus 4-part video series that was offered in December 2020 as part of my first year with the Hay House Writers community. I relearned from Louise about mirror work, which she taught during her weekend course with Cheryl Richardson in London years ago. Now, at first, it is awkward talking to yourself while looking into a mirror. Within time, you internalize the practice until it becomes natural to tell yourself, "I love you," every time you look in the bathroom mirror, when you go to wash your face, when you wash your hands, and when you shower. There are books with positive affirmations you can say to yourself during your mirror work. Louise even teaches you how to write your own affirmations, and she has a book entitled Mirror Work. Now, one of Louise's core teachings is that mirror work, it's a principle that your life experience reflects your relationship with yourself. Now, I know you might not be able to see that at first, but it's true. Her aim is for you to see yourself as lovable. Otherwise, the world can be a dark and lonely place. So the mirror work, but by looking at yourself in a mirror and repeating positive affirmations, is Louise's powerful method for learning to love yourself and experience the world as a safe and loving place. I know it might not feel like that right now, given what's going on in the real world, but we have to stay vigilant and we have to do mirror work. Louise tells her readers, mirror work is one of the most loving gifts you can give yourself. So, a lesson to learn, no matter what is going on outside or even inside, you have to keep your work. You have to keep telling yourself that the positive thoughts are more important than getting stuck on negative thoughts. You have to realize that if you get stuck in those neural pathways and stay that negative route, then that's what you're going to see, more negative in your life. So if you want better things to happen, new things to start, then start thinking new thoughts. That's what we're trying to say. Now, it's no secret why successful people like J-Lo and others value Louise's life work, which began with Louise Hay's international bestseller, You Can Heal Your Life. Since its debut in 1984, the book has sold over 40 million copies worldwide. Now, Louise wasn't a trained psychiatrist. She was simply a survivor who taught herself and learned how to heal herself from cancer. And then she went on to inspire millions on their journey to personal transformation despite herself being raped as a child. Can you imagine that? So when you thought things were bad for you, just imagine what other people have gone through. So when someone tells you your circumstances don't define you, others' opinions of you shouldn't matter to you, believe it. Please note, I'm not advocating you seek alternative medicine and not get medical help. Only you and a medical profession professional can help guide you in decisions involving your health. What I'm trying to share is that your mindset, what you say and think about yourself, affects your reality. What you focus on grows. The tools and resources I'm sharing in this podcast, with links in the show notes, teach you how to navigate your health. When you learn how your mind works, you can better manage your thoughts to focus on positive communication. Negative talk doesn't solve much and keeps you stuck in your present situation. The key is not to go down that rabbit hole. Now, back to the topic of love, which includes self-love. 93-year-old Edith Eger has a lot to say about the topic. She's the psychiatrist I told you about who has appeared on NBC's Today and the author of the book, The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life. Dr. Eger has learned a few lessons of her own. She was born in Hungary. When she was 16, she was sent to Auschwitz, where her parents were gassed to death the same day the family arrived at the Nazi concentration camp in 1944. She survived that horror, and today is a clinical psychologist based in La Jolla, California. And she urges her patients to break out of their own mental prison by choosing positive emotions such as love and forgiveness over negative emotions, fear and anger. Sound familiar? Her favorite advice about life and relationships is to start with self-love. Dr. Eger has the same advice as Louise Hay. Begin the day by looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. I honor you. You're unique. In her book, Dr. Eger tells her readers to be your own best friend because all your other relationships are going to end, but the relationship with yourself is for a lifetime. That's why she goes on to advise to be your own best caregiver by eating well, exercising, and having balance in your life. She cautions about the danger of putting your life into someone else's hands, because your life doesn't depend on what you get or don't get from someone else. Very wise words. On the topic of love, she says love really is a 4-letter word spelled for T-I-M-E. Time. You need to have balance in your life between work and love and play. Making sure you devote enough time for yourself. Now, if you're a mom, I know it's hard because you're always putting your children first, your husband, or if you're a caregiver, you have to put that person ahead of your own. But what Dr. Eger is trying to tell you is that before you spend time on someone or something else, ask yourself, is this going to empower or deplete me? Now, most of us don't usually stop because we're always reacting. We're like, where's the fire? We're constantly moving from one problem to another. And it's just, that's how the day goes. It's just all hurry, hurry, hurry. Go here. You got to drive somebody here. You got to do this. And you've got a to-do list that's a mile long. Oh, I'm getting myself all worked up just talking about it. But each day is a new day. You have to be honest with yourself. And you have to say, look, am I happy with all of this going on? Because if you're not happy alone, well, you're certainly not going to be happy with anyone else. So, do you really want to be married to yourself? Are you a good partner? The These are things that you have to think about, because when you walk into a room, the energy that you bring with you affects people around you. Just like vice versa. Other people's energies affect you. You can feel when someone's like angry because you just don't feel comfortable when you're around them, or when someone is talking and they're using really forceful and their tone is just, strong. That's enough to make your stomach churn and run. Now, on the subject of forgiveness, that's something you do for yourself, Dr. Eger says. If you remain angry, it leads to resentment, which hurts you, not anyone else. Now, I want to make an analogy of something that happened this week in the news here in the United States. You may have heard that some Republicans in the U.S. Senate were urging Democrats and all Americans to move on, thus voting against impeaching former President Trump for inciting a riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6. Now, it's hard when those lawmakers are angry that their life was put in danger and our democracy was attacked while the whole world watched. I could see why all the Democratic senators weren't focusing on red roses and romancing their colleagues across the aisle because their partners were protecting the former president, because they were more worried about the future of their own political party. There's no romance in that relationship, for sure. That honeymoon was short-lived, if ever there was one. No amount of roses or chocolate is going to fix that relationship. Now, Democrats who gained control of both Congress and the White House this January were accused of political bipartisanship. All the while, they were trying to hold a man accountable for his words while in office. Now, that House now sits on a damaged foundation, broken windows, and no trust between its members. There is too much anger because there was loss of life, loss of innocence, a lot of shouting and fighting inside their house, and many don't feel safe. Now, how would Dr. Edgar advise those members of Congress? She would say, conflict is human. In every relationship, you need to negotiate and compromise, and each partner must give up the need to be right. But don't cover garlic with chocolate. It doesn't taste good. Thus, don't deny your feelings and don't pretend away your pain. If something doesn't feel right, acknowledge it. Don't try to destroy it. That's why you hear people say, love trumps hate. And Dr. Edgar says the same thing. Fear and love cannot coexist. If I could offer my own advice as someone who tries not to get stuck on politics and today's, headlines, which become tomorrow's garbage, be aware of your news sources because they play on your fears. It brings the media higher ratings, more revenue, and it's part of the entertainment business. If you'd like to learn more, stay tuned for my upcoming book, and I'll tell you more about interruptive journalism. In closing, I wanted to celebrate and wish my niece Dana, who turned 21 on Friday, and a happy birthday to her siblings Yusuf and Yasmin, whose birthdays are also this weekend. Now that's a lot of love this Valentine's weekend. Join me tomorrow when I share the love story of Cliff and Lila, who were two classmates ahead of me at my high school. For the Heart and Home podcast, I'm Sabah Fakhoury, your love goddess, your coach, and your friend.